Hello and welcome. I'm Russ Ketchum. I'm the product lead for Google Analytics for Firebase. And it's so great to be back with all of you here at I/O. It was 2 years ago on a stage not too far from here that we launched Google Analytics for Firebase. And in the time since, it's been awesome to partner with so many of you across so many apps to harness the power of app-first analytics that's tightly integrated into a mobile developer platform. You've used Firebase and Google Analytics for Firebase specifically to create so many magical, intuitive, fun, useful, creative, I can't imagine my life before I had them, apps. The range that you've created is truly incredible. It's also incredible to have had so many conversations with you all about the range of business goals that you have and lifecycle challenges that you face. Some of you are just starting out. Others are established players. Some of you are focused on growth. Others of you are expanding your focus to include re-engagement. For some, monetization is a goal of the hopefully not too distant future. And yet others, you're on to your second or even your third simultaneous monetization strategy. Now, while you have a lot of diversity to the challenges and goals you have, there's also a lot of things that you have in common. And one of the big ones remains. Let's face it, building a successful app is still really hard. But it's no surprise when you ask the Google Analytics team, we think that having good data is often the key to making the process achievable and repeatable. But of course, having good data isn't always easy in the first place. So mobile apps generate an incredibly large amount of data. Even small apps do. And that's why when we were building Google Analytics for Firebase, we built it to scale. And that's how we're able to offer free and unlimited event reporting, even for the largest of apps. But then once you collect all that data, that creates another set of challenges. You shouldn't have to be a forensic scientist sifting through your data to try to glean some sort of understanding. And that's why Google Analytics for Firebase surfaces key themes and insights and brings them right to the forefront. But you can have all the understanding in the world, but if you can't take action on it, then really what's the point? And that's why Google Analytics is immediately actionable inside of Firebase and across our other app-focused products at Google. Now, we believe that these three pieces are a good starting point for getting your data story right. But really, they're just that. They're a starting point. So today, we're really excited to share with you how some of our latest features we think will truly change the way that you work with analytics. And so the first is truly a foundational change. So up until this point, if you had two apps in a Firebase project, regardless if they were the same platform or a mix of iOS or Android, you had to analyze them individually. So we've heard from you all loud and clear that this forced isolation doesn't really map to how you think about understanding in-app activity. You think about what goes on in your project more holistically. So today, I'm really excited to announce project-level reporting in Google Analytics for Firebase. So with it, the event data for all of your apps in a given project are collected together to give you a single and comprehensive view of what's happening. And we're really excited about the possibilities this is going to unlock. And these possibilities, they're not limited to one moment in time. Being able to take this holistic perspective has inciting implications across your journey as an app developer. Across Firebase and Google Analytics for Firebase, we've delivered a slew of capabilities to help you build and grow your apps. Now, with project-level analytics, all of those features become even more powerful. But also, now that we have a core foundation that's inherently multi-platform, this is going to unlock entirely new types of capabilities that we're really excited to begin to explore. We're going to look at a lot more of these today. Specifically, we're going to show you what this new holistic perspective looks like in Google Analytics for Firebase. And then we're going to pivot and show you how you can use it to build stable, well-functioning apps, how to monetize more effectively, and how to grow and retain your high-value users. So without further delay, I'd like to invite Steve and Mai up on stage to show you what this looks like in action.
Thanks, Russ. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Ganem.
And I'm Mai Lowe, and we're product managers for Google Analytics for Firebase. OK. So today we're going to start with what Russ has already mentioned, gaining a holistic view of your app. So let's dive in. For many of you, your Firebase project represents your product and your business. And although seeing the analytics for each of your apps independently can be useful and inspire meaningful actions, you really want to know how your product is being used and how your business is performing as a whole. And up until this point, the only solution had been to integrate with BigQuery and then to do some kind of data manipulation elsewhere, possibly in Data Studio or in a tool that's internal to your company. Yet, over 90% of the top 100 apps on Google Play are also available in the App Store. And what this means is just one of many statistics that highlights how it's important to see and understand your app data across platforms, because many of you, in fact, have it across platforms. So I'm excited to announce that within the next few weeks, you can view all of the analytics for your app at the project level. So instead of seeing your data separated by platform, you can now see your event activity combined. You will see things like first opens, purchases, revenue across your Android and iOS app. And project-level analytics as a concept also applies to the other places in analytics that you've become used to, such as audiences, funnels, and retention cohorts. Of course, you will still need to be able to focus in on one app in your project to make sure there are no issues with key metrics or efforts that you have that are specific to a platform. And you can still do that. By applying a stream filter. So a stream is just a source of analytics data, and it maps one-to-one with an app in Firebase. And it's not an all-or-nothing situation. So you can filter on other dimensions in addition to a stream. So maybe sometimes you want to only see production versions of your app and not the noise of the test versions. Our new flexible filters control allows you to do just that. And the use case is just built from there, right? You can see the concept applied to age or user properties, OS versions, etc. Another place where we find it particularly powerful to have project-level insights is real-time. So here, the changes in the way you work with analytics are twofold. One is around what we've been talking about, which is project-level data. And two is around where you're seeing the data. And some of you may remember last year we launched Stream View, which helps you understand what your users are doing inside your product right now. It's a big and exciting launch for analytics. And at the time, it was its own dedicated section in our UI, and it lived separately, which made it hard to incorporate the insights from that section within the rest of the context of your app. So I'm excited to let you know that now, as of today, throughout the whole product, you see real-time cards to give you that missing connection to your users, so you know what they're doing right at this moment in time. This gives you an idea of your product, of how your business is performing right now, within the context of all the other app data that may not be real-time in nature. And of course, if you want to dive deeper into real-time data, you can still do that. You click through, and you'll arrive in our Stream View section. OK, time to look at some of this stuff live. Steve's here to do just that.
All right, so today we're going to take a look at Flooded. Flooded is a simple, fun, addictive puzzle game that's available on Google Play and on the Apple App Store. And it leverages a number of different Firebase features. It's also the public Firebase demo project. So it's a place you can go to check out all the latest Firebase features, see what Firebase has to offer. To access the demo project, just go to the Firebase console and look for the prompt that says, Explore a demo project, and click on it. And you'll be able to take a look at all the features, the analytics features that we're talking about here today, which will be rolling out to your projects in the coming weeks. Now, for a special treat for those of you who are attending I/O, if you're interested in getting priority access to these features, just head over to the Firebase sandbox at any time. Look for somebody wearing that bright yellow Firebase shirt, and let them know that you're interested in that, and they can get you signed up for it. So without further ado, let's switch to the demo, please. The demo starts here on the project overview for Floodit. This is also being revamped and will be rolling out soon. Among other changes, there's a focus on a lot more analytics data being shown here, so that at a glance you can check the pulse of your project. Previously, there was 1 day worth of analytics data here. Now that's been expanded to show 2 weeks worth, and it focuses on daily active users, day one retention, and revenue. Now this is across your project, but also broken down by app in your project. Also, as Mai mentioned before, we're spreading real-time data out throughout the product, showing it in context in other places. So you can see even here in the project overview, we're showing a count of users playing Floodit right now, actually participating in my demo, 79 of them. So in addition to being a good pulse check on your app, the project overview acts as a good springboard into analytics if that's your destination. So you can click on any of these cards to jump right into the analytics dashboard. So I've landed here on the dashboard. I'm going to take just a time out from the demo to point something out. So some of you who are familiar with the dashboard might have already noticed there's a small change in our user interface, and it's worth calling out. The app selector is gone. So there used to be a drop-down next to the dashboard, next to the word dashboard, that would require you to select the app that you want to analyze. And by removing that, what we're doing is actually showing together all the data from all of the apps in the project together. This is project-level reporting. Now, it may seem like a small change in UI, but actually this signals a fundamental shift in how analytics is going to work going forward. From now on, the events being logged from any of the apps in your product are actually being collected in a single analytics property. And the way that you configure your analytics is going to change as well. It used to be that you configure each app independently. So for Floodit, I registered a whole set of audiences, user properties, conversions, and funnels for the iOS version. And then I had to go and do the exact same setup for the Android version. And any changes I'd make thereon, I'd have to go and mimic the copies to the other ones. Going forward, we're going to configure analytics at the project level. So you can configure it just once for your project, and it applies to all apps in the project going forward. And what we've done also is combine the configuration that you have at the app level into a single configuration and promoted that to the project level. And our engineers have worked extremely hard, and I have to give them a shout out, really, really hard, to ensure that your historical data and your configuration is migrating seamlessly into this new world to make sure that you don't miss a beat. The result is an analytics product which is simpler to set up, easier to maintain, and more powerful in its reporting capabilities. It makes it easy to answer important questions like, how much money is my app business making? Or how much time are users spending in my apps across platforms? And the answers to those questions starts in this dashboard. If you haven't seen the dashboard in a little while, it's actually gone through a huge overhaul, a complete facelift. And we center the reporting around questions that people in your organization need to ask and answer on a daily basis to do their jobs. Questions related to conversions, engagement, revenue, stability, your latest release, acquisition, and so forth. And we have real-time cards everywhere, as Mai mentioned, showing us that now it's up to 86 users playing Floodit since I started. So we're on the up and up there. So that's 84 users across the apps in the project. Now, I recognize that this is a developers conference, and there's bound to be some of you in the audience going, this project-level stuff sounds great for someone, but I work on just the iOS version of the app. Are you telling me that I have to look at all the data together and I can't just isolate the iOS version? And of course, that's not what we're saying. We just changed the way subtly that you're going to look at data from one specific app. Going forward, you're going to apply a stream filter if that's what you want to do. A stream is just a source of analytics data, and in Firebase, that maps one-to-one with an app in your project. So if I wanted to look at data just for the iOS version of Floodit, I could click that, or just the Android version, or unfiltered, looking at the whole project. Floodit's set up pretty simply, but I've seen a lot of projects set up with many more apps. For example, some projects have one app for every stage, for alpha, for beta, and for release, or the production version of your app. And if you're set up like that, now you'll have the ability to actually just filter in the release version of your app, or just beta, or just alpha. So you have more flexibility than you had before, actually. You haven't lost any. So let's take a look at how this works. We put it together to answer some real questions. As a product manager on Floodit, I want to know how much time are people playing Floodit each day. So I'll go to the user engagement card. That shows me that the daily user engagement is 11 minutes and 45 seconds. That's how much time, on average, people are playing Floodit each day. If I'm curious if that changes for iOS, I can apply that as a filter. And I can see that it goes down to 11 minutes, 39 seconds, so remarkably consistent, which I guess isn't too shocking because there's feature parity among the apps. But I can go further than that. There's new flexibility here which will allow me to also apply filters beyond just the stream. And if I'm curious how this metric holds up with people on new devices, maybe I want to filter for iPhone 8s and the iPhone 10 as well. I can apply those all as filters, all at the same time. And you can see that engagement actually goes up by a little bit. Maybe this is a small sample size, or maybe there's some correlation between people on these latest phones and Floodit, or maybe the experience is just better. It's hard to tell without diving deeper. But you can do that with these calls to action at the bottom of each of the card, letting you go deeper along those same lines of investigation. So I could go into more and more examples, but now that you know how to access the demo project yourself, I encourage you to check out these features for yourself and get a sense of how these new features and analytics will open up new ways for you to analyze your own app business in the coming weeks. Can we switch to the slides, please?
All right. So while we work really hard to meet your needs with our reports and dashboards that we're building, we know sometimes you just got to take the data and manipulate it yourself. Maybe it's an additional analysis or joining the data with outside sources. Up until this point, the only way to do that is to integrate with BigQuery. And we love BigQuery, but it may be more than what you need. So I'm happy to let you know that we've built CSV Export into our UI. And now you can download almost any report you see with the click of a button in the overflow menu. But CSV Export is aggregates only. So some of you may be interested in the raw underlying data. And of course, some of you are already integrated with BigQuery and are loving using it in collaboration with Data Studio. So you're wondering, what does project level mean for me? Well, I want to assure you we've got you covered. And project level data is also available in BigQuery and Data Studio. So you'll be able to see and visualize project level data without any tallying of any kind. You can just focus on customizing your dashboard. So let's take a look at these live. Please switch to the demo.
So we're back here in Floodit, and we'll pick up where we left off. And we'll take a look at how you get access to the underlying analytics data, starting with access to your reporting data. So to access your reporting data, you download CSV. The first thing to keep in mind with CSV download is what you see is what you get. And so the CSV that you download will reflect the report that you're looking at, including the date range and the filters that you have applied to it. So in this case, if I want to download the metrics for my dashboard for project level analytics, I'll remove the filters that I had applied for the earlier part of the demo. All right. And now I just choose download CSV. That finishes downloading. And take a look at the data, and it looks like this. So you have the data you see on the dashboard, a section for each of the cards, and the metrics for every day. You can copy this into a spreadsheet to continue your analysis. I've done that ahead of time because I'm crafty like that. And you can see that my daily, weekly, and monthly active users are shown per day here in the sheet, where I can do a one-off analysis. I'll do one, for example, here today. Sometimes people want to compute DAU/MAU, which is the ratio of daily active users to monthly active users. This is a common proxy for stickiness in an app. So maybe we want to do a one-off here. We'll define DAU/MAU, say that it's equal to daily divided by monthly, apply that down, and then graph it. And that quickly, I've done a one-off analysis where I can give an answer to someone who was asking for it, or check the pulse on some metric that I care about. Now, this is your reporting data. As Mai said, it's aggregate. And there's some tasks that you need to do which will require raw data. For example, if you want to combine your analytics user data with data that you collect independently, like from your CRM database, you're going to need access to raw data. And we make that possible through our integration with BigQuery. The way that you access BigQuery is first you have to link your Firebase project to BigQuery. You do that starting with this gear. You go to your project settings, and in the integration section, you'll find BigQuery, and you can link to that product there. Once you do that, then I'll head over to BigQuery to show you the result. So this is the BigQuery user interface for those of you unfamiliar with it. And BigQuery, for those of you unfamiliar with the product, is Google's tool for running super fast queries over massive data sets. And when I've linked my Firebase project to BigQuery, previously what that would do is actually create a data set for each app. So I have highlighted the data set for my iOS app and a data set for my Android app. Going forward, and keeping with the theme of project-level analytics, Firebase will export its analytics data to a single project-level data set, and all the data for all of your apps will be exported into that single data set. This will make it much simpler to run queries across your apps and to join data from your project with external data. I'll run a quick query here just to show you a simple example of how it works. This is a count of events broken down by event name and platform. And I'll run the query, and it usually just takes a second, and there you go. It's a count of the events for Android, and if I scroll through, you'll see the iOS events as well. Now, some of you may not be looking for a technical interface. You'd rather have something more visual to work with, but you still want to access your raw data. And that's where our integration with Data Studio really shines. It's additive on top of this BigQuery export. And product managers from Data Studio and Google Analytics for Firebase have created this set of 2 reports templates that you can apply to your own raw BigQuery data to give you a really quick head start in analyzing your raw data in a visual way. Nothing technical required here. In our Help Center, I can walk you through just a series of clicks to get up and running and see these visualizations for yourself. This is what our public demo project reporting looks like. And there's 3 pages full of curated reports that give you insights into your users, location broken down by city, language, et cetera, filterable by platform, app, et cetera. And it goes much deeper than this. And what you can do is you can just make it your own. You click the Edit button, and you can start editing the graphics, give it your own branding, remove metrics, add your own. You can click on any control, change the dimension, or change the metric. And when you have it looking just the way you want it, you click Share, and you can share the report with any party that's interested in seeing it, and it keeps up to date as new data pipes into BigQuery. So now we've talked about how project-level analytics will change your reporting, and we've talked about how it also changes the way you get access to the underlying data. Now we're going to pivot and talk about some features which will change the way developers work with analytics. Can we switch back to the slides, please?
All right. So we all know it's critical to have insights into your user base, your revenue, your growth, and so on. It's foundational, of course, to have an app that's stable and actually works as you intended to. And we all know you guys love Crashlytics, and that's why we're excited that Crashlytics is now part of Firebase and the Crash Reporter for Firebase. But if you like Crashlytics before, just wait. It gets even better with Google Analytics for Firebase. Because we also know many of you guys love our breadcrumbs feature. So that's why we've integrated it with Crashlytics. So now you can access our breadcrumbs in the Crashlytics section of the Firebase console. Because we want to make sure you have all the data you need at your fingertips when you need to troubleshoot. And Steve's going to show you what that looks like in just a second. Beyond understanding your crashes, you also want to know how your releases are landing with your users. So you want to know the answers to questions like, how is my latest release affecting the user experience? Or how am I trending release to release? And thus far, we didn't have that information for you. So I'm happy to show you that we have a latest release report, which was inspired by the Fabric report of the same name. And here we show you how your latest builds are performing. And to make things easy for you, if you have any issues around stability in your latest release, we deep link you into Crashlytics or Crash Reporting, depending on which you're using, so that you can be in the right place to troubleshoot right away. All right, so coming up, we have a case study to bring these features to life. And center stage is actually an app that Steve built. So let's take a look.
So before coming to Google, I was a lifelong game developer. And one of the last games I released was Transworld Endless Skater. Skate, as we call it, is a skateboarding take on the endless runner genre. And I've integrated Google Analytics for Firebase to track my KPI and Crashlytics to track my stability. And I want to reiterate what Mai said. We are so stoked to have Crashlytics as part of Firebase now. There's not a better tool on the market to help monitor the stability of your app. Now, most crash reporting tools at least give you a list of issues, the number of users it's affecting, and also will give you a call stack related to each issue. But as we all know, call stacks aren't always enough to understand where a crash is occurring or how to reproduce it. For example, take a look at this crash report, this issue shown in Crashlytics for my own app, Skate. The issue that I'm looking at is identified as an OpenGL rendering crash, and the crash occurs in an OpenGL driver. Basically, some triangle somewhere caused a crash. Good luck trying to find and fix that. If my own QA department had reported this, I'd march over there and I'd say, you've got to give me more info than this. Tell me what skater you were using, what level you were on, what screens the user viewed before the crash occurred, and then maybe you can actually get started fixing it. And that's why I'm so excited about the breadcrumbs integration, because that's exactly the sort of data you'll get, the extra context you get from having logged analytics events already. So you can see in this example after the session start, this user's, I logged a select content event, which will identify the skater the user chose, and then a level start event at the start of the level, which identifies that the user started the school level, they were not using a gamepad or logged in. Basically, give me all this context about the answers to the questions I might otherwise ask. And so this changes how developers think about analytics, because now they want to log events because it'll help them do their job better on a daily basis. If I'm an app developer, I'm going to put these in there, not necessarily because it's going to help the business person track success, but because it'll help me fix bugs when they occur. And that's really exciting to me to think that it'll change the way developers work with analytics. Now, crash reporting is one way to examine the health of your app. But latest release report that we launched approaches the problem from another direction. This is a screenshot of the latest release report for Skate. And it compares the stability and the engagement of your latest release compared to previous versions to make sure that everything's looking good. It might be that your app is just as stable, but people are spending a lot less time in it because you messed up. And this is a case study of when that recently happened to me. So taking a look at the adoption chart, you might see an area there that looks a little bit fishy. There's like a 7-day period where an app was rolled out and subsequently rolled back and a new one was pushed out. That time period actually corresponds to a vacation that I went on right after releasing a new version of my app, and I forgot to bring my work laptop, so I couldn't fix it until I got back from vacation. And it really stunk to do this to my users. I wanted nothing more than to fix it, but at least I became aware of the problem right away. And I discovered it actually using our own tool, latest release. No joke. How did I discover it? Well, the previous version of my app, users were spending an average of almost 9.5 minutes playing the game each day. And the new version of my app, that went down to 27 seconds. Now, for those of you who are interested in the gory details, I had forgotten to associate my expansion file with my APK, and it has all my game data in it. So basically, users were updating to a new version of my app that had no game data, at which point they would leave and often uninstall. So I fixed it, and I can see that user engagement went up to almost 14 minutes a day. So I'm happy to report that Skate is stable again and ready to make money. Yeah, thank you. So like with many games, Skate monetizes using both in-app purchases and in-app advertisements. Next, we're going to talk about some new features that actually will change the way that you monetize your apps as well.
All right, so now you have an idea of how to get both broader and deeper insights into your app. You know how to build something that's stable and functions. So let's talk about the next step in some of you all's journey, which is how to make some revenue with your app. Our AdMob integration is a breakthrough way to get a much richer revenue figure in our reporting. When we launched, we included ads revenue in our revenue card, as well as lifetime value in campaign reporting in our acquisitions card on the dashboard. But at the time, mediated revenue was missing, and we know how helpful it is for you all to have it included. Maybe some of you already heard Sissy and Sridhar announce this yesterday, the launch of open bidding. But nonetheless, I'm excited to let you know that as of today, you can see mediated revenue for participating ad networks as part of both revenue and lifetime value. And of course, like everything else, also at the project level. And once you've begun monetizing your app, you can really lean on your data to help you build the best possible ads experience for your users. What does that mean? Well, we've all been there in an app that has ads that are irrelevant and annoying, and they distract you from what you've come to do. It's really not good for anybody. Well, we want to help you build the best possible ads experience for your users, because we want your users to discover new great content that delights them, and we want the discovery to be seamless, to be natural and organic, and to make sense. Firebase A/B testing launched late last year, and within the ads context, this is really the data-driven way for you to make decisions around what kind of ads experience is best for your users. You simply optimize on AdMob revenue and total revenue, which is in-app purchase and AdMob revenue. And the beauty of it is that it's a win-win situation. Your users have a better experience, they discover content that delights them, and you make more revenue in the process. But A/B testing isn't the only way you can maximize your earning potential. So Firebase Predictions is currently in beta, and it's one of the ways that Google applies machine learning to the wealth of your app data to bring you meaningful insights and actionable calls so that you can grow your business. Your app event data is analyzed to discover statistically significant correlations between something like spend and other characteristics of your users and your app. And then machine learning is applied, and Firebase can target an audience that's deemed most likely to spend, either with remote config or a push notification. So take note that machine learning is most powerful when you have a high volume and a high variety of events that are important to your app. So the more meaningful and contextualized you instrument your app, the better our machine learning can train the models, and the more helpful the results are going to be for you. And in this case, maximizing revenue. All right, let's look at a real-life case study to visualize what all this means as you're trying to build the best possible ads experience and effectively monetize your app. Let's take a look.
So Rockbite makes the hit game Deep Town, which I'm sure all of you have heard of already. And in this game, you mine for metals and gems using robots with a variety of skills and abilities. And as you might expect from a strategy game, it has a deep skill tree and a robust in-game economy, which includes both items that you can purchase with real money and items that you can earn over time. Now, Rockbite wanted to optimize their app for revenue, like we all do. And this is a study of what they did and how it all worked out. For some background, Rockbite's Deep Town involves two types of in-app currency. There are crystals, shown at the top here, which you can buy with real money. And there are chests, which you can purchase with crystals. Previously, the team at Rockbite was doing experiments based on in-house heuristics for how to organize this shop for each user. But all of their experiments were inconclusive. Using a combination of Firebase Predictions and remote config, however, they were able to dynamically adjust the layout in the shop based on users' predicted behaviors. They tried and tested multiple options, but ultimately, here's what worked for them. If a user was predicted to not spend by Firebase Predictions, they would show crystals at the top of their shop, which again, you can buy with real money. The result was an increase of 24% in revenue among non-spending users. Conversely, if a user was predicted to spend, they would move chests, which you can't buy with real money, to the top of the shop, and put crystals, which you can buy with real money, underneath those. And that increased revenue among this group by 25%. Now, at first glance, this may not seem intuitive to you. If a user is predicted to spend, you might think that you're going to put the items that they can purchase at the top of the shop. But they tried and tested, and this is ultimately what worked. It just goes to show you how important it is that you have the ability to experiment and measure. Because intuition is great, but data is king. The CEO from Rockbite was impressed, saying that Firebase Predictions and remote config gave them the power to target users based on their predicted behavior and rapidly test different purchase flows in their beta app. Without Firebase, we would not have become profitable in today's competitive mobile gaming industry. That's powerful stuff there. It sounds like Deep Town's in really good shape now. They're in that enviable position where your engagement, retention, and conversion metrics are looking good. And now they can focus on acquiring the best users.
All right, so let's move on to the last part of the journey we're going to cover today, which is to grow your users with high-value users and to make sure they keep coming back in your app. First, let's tackle the problem of finding your high-value users. So we all know this is really difficult to do. Many businesses have multiple efforts going on this front, and they often increase in volume as your business matures. And generally speaking, when you try to find your high-value users, you start by identifying an event or an action that's important to you, and you mark that as a conversion. And this unlocks attribution reporting, and that shows you what drove that user to perform the action you've deemed as high value. Thus far, attribution reporting and analytics for Firebase has only included ad clicks as an input. And yet, it's kind of hard to justify that only a click is going to credit an ad network or a campaign with a conversion, especially in our age of rich media where there's plenty of mediums that may not neatly fall into a click-only model. So I'm excited to announce that within the next few weeks, our view-through attribution feature is going to be made publicly available. And what this means is that we're not only going to look at click data to credit a conversion to source, medium, and campaign, but also impression data. So you can have multiple lenses to judge your success by. Building a holistic, unbiased, and accurate attribution model is one of the cornerstones of analytics product. We understand your need that you want all of your advertising efforts evaluated for effectiveness by one engine and seeing the results side by side. To address this need, we're integrated with many different ad networks that we think you would tap into as you continue to build on and expand your growth efforts. We've been integrated with AdWords since our launch at I/O 2 years ago. And a couple of months ago, we went to the public with our integration with DoubleClick. And in addition to that, we're also integrated with all of the major third-party ad networks that you all use. All right, so the last step, once you've found these high-value users, is figuring out how to get them to continually come back in your app. So how do you do that? As some of you who already have linked Firebase and AdWords together know, Firebase audiences are pushed to AdWords upon linking so that you can create remarketing campaigns that target Firebase audiences. And late last year, we expanded on this integration. We wanted to leverage the rich audience builder functionality that you've come to love in our AdWords front end. So I'm excited to let you know that we publicly launched dynamic remarketing late last year. And this sends raw conversion and parameter data to AdWords so that you can customize and configure your audiences in the AdWords front end for remarketing campaign purposes. And we're really excited about this launch because I think it really showcases the flexibility of our data and for us to have the ability to meet you wherever you happen to be. All right, that's it for Steve and I. Russ is going to come back and close us out.
Thanks, Mai. Thanks, Steve. You guys covered a ton of ground today. We announced a fundamental change to Google Analytics for Firebase that's going to let all of you take a more holistic approach to analytics. And this change is going to reverberate across everything we do. We saw it across our data export capabilities, BigQuery, Data Studio integrations, Crashlytics, now enhanced with breadcrumbs, how you can leverage A/B testing, prediction, all in service of monetization, and across growth and retention. And with that, I want to thank you all for staying late, for coming out, or for tuning into the live stream. We definitely want to keep the conversation going. To do that, we would love for you all to stop by the Firebase Sandbox. Just look for anyone in a yellow shirt. We also have a bunch of related sessions for you to check out, both a live one tomorrow and others on YouTube now. And we'd, of course, love to hear your feedback. So with that, thanks again for coming, and enjoy the rest of I/O.